Well, you know what? I kind of like last night. I thought maybe I would just, before I sing, share a little story.
Sam loves to tell stories, and last night he told the story of Zacchaeus in the Bible. And do you have what story do you want to tell this morning?
Well, I want you to guess what story it is.
Well, Sam, we could be here all morning guessing stories. So can you give us a hint? He said Zacchaeus. Not today. Not today. Do you want a hint?
Need a clue?
Yeah, I need a clue. Are you thinking? Okay.
Well, it's another Bible story.
Another Bible story. Well, the Bible's pretty thick, so can you narrow it down a little bit?
Well, this is a story about a kid in the Bible with a really cool name.
A kid in the Bible with a cool name. We heard David. Was it David? No. Was it God? I don't think so. Kid in the Bible. Anybody else? Anybody else have a... Was it Jesus or Zacchaeus? What? Hold on just a second. What? Sam's grunting at me, you guys. Well, why are you grunting? What's going on? Who would Sam think had a pretty cool name? You want to say it? I think I heard it. Sam or Samuel in the Bible?
Bingo.
Okay. So you want to tell us about Samuel?
Yeah, see, the first time that I heard the story of Samuel, the person that told it to me said that Samuel was a really good listener.
Was a good listener, okay.
So I thought that meant he had big ears like Dumbo or like you.
No, come on, Sam. Being a good listener isn't about the size of your ears. It's about what you do once you hear something, right?
You mean like being obedient.
That's exactly right. You know what, guys? My mom used to tell me that obedience is what you do when you're told without asking questions, and they looked that up in the dictionary, so that's how I was raised, yeah. So speaking of moms,
Samuel's mom, her name was Hannah.
Anybody here named Hannah? You have any Hannahs? Oh, they're all named Hannah. Why not?
And his dad's name was Elkanah.
Anybody here named Elkanah? All right, we even got a few of those. All right.
Well, before Samuel was born, Hannah didn't have any kids, but she really wanted to. Bad. So every year she would go to the tabernacle and she would pray and cry and ask the Lord to give her a child. And you know what she told God? She said, Lord, if you give me a child, I'm going to give him right back to you.
Okay.
Well, how's she going to do that? 747 to heaven?
Oh, come on, Sam. You know the story. So what happened?
One year in particular, Hannah went to the temple, and I don't mean to make fun, but she was in there talking to God. But the Bible said she looked a little bit,
What do you mean?
She looked a little off.
Well, why do you say that?
Well, I think that maybe her mouth was moving.
Because she was praying.
But you couldn't hear any noise. So she looked a little bit like this.
Okay. Well, that's disturbing. Okay. All right. Well, that's enough, Sam. So what happened?
Well, Eli, he was the high priest there in the tabernacle. He saw her and he said, this lady has some issues. But when he finally talked to her, he saw deeper. And he said, Hannah, you go home. God has heard your request.
Well, that's pretty cool. So Hannah had the knowledge that God was listening to her, right? That God had heard her prayers, and right. And so what happened?
Well, it wasn't too long later before Hannah found out that she's going to have a baby. And as these things usually go, she did.
She did. That's right. And she named him Samuel.
Well, duh.
Okay. So I didn't know how long the story was. So what about her promise to God to give Samuel back to God?
Back to God. You know, when Samuel got old enough, she took him back to the temple and she let him stay there with Eli so he could work for God there in the temple.
So in a very real sense, Hannah brought Samuel back to God, right? So what happened there? What was the next thing? Sam, what was the next thing in the story? You what? Oh, you forgot? Okay, Sam, it's okay. It's okay. Sam forgot this part of the story. Have you guys ever forgotten something when you were trying to remember it? Yeah, never? She's never done that. Okay, I do. So Sam forgot, so I have to help him. Every year, Hannah would come to the temple, and she would bring Samuel a
piece of cheesecake.
No.
Piece of pizza?
No, Sam. She would bring him, you're thinking about food. No, she would bring him a cloak or a robe. She'd bring him a garment of some kind.
Well, Lord knows we all need a good garment.
That's true. So what happened there in the story, or in the temple, that was so important to the story?
Well, it was there in the temple or the tabernacle that Samuel showed that he was a really good listener. See, one night he was lying in bed, probably starting to doze off a little bit.
Started to doze off?
Mm-hmm.
Sam's going to sleep, y'all. Sam, okay. Sam.
Don't rush me, dude. Well, all of a sudden he heard this. Samuel. Well, he jumped out of bed, went running over to Eli. He said, I heard you. What did you need? And Eli said, I didn't call you. Go back to bed.
Go back to bed. So did he?
Mm-hmm. Wasn't too long later before he heard it again. Well, he jumped out of bed again, went running over to Eli. He said, I heard you this time. What did you need? And Eli said, I didn't call you this time either. Go back to bed.
Go back to bed. Wow. You kids, probably some of you have heard the story of Samuel, and have you ever thought, what would you have done? What would I have done if you're trying to go to sleep and all of a sudden you hear someone say, Samuel? What would you do? Would you think somebody left their phone on or is playing a joke on you or something, right?
Maybe he thought it was the cheesecake.
No. You mean his belly growling? Mm-hmm. Wasn't that? What happened, Sam?
Well, he heard it again, but this time Eli caught on and he said, Samuel, when you hear that again, say, speak, for your servant hears. And that's exactly what he did, because it wasn't somebody trying to play a joke. It wasn't his belly growling.
Nope, wasn't his belly growling.
It was God. And God had a special word for Samuel.
What was that?
He had something he wanted him to do.
Well, what was that?
Well, Eli had some pretty wicked sons, but he didn't do anything to stop them. So God told Samuel to tell Eli that he was in big trouble.
Big trouble. So did he do it?
Yeah, he did.
You know what, guys? This is an important story for all of us, young and old. But I do look at you kids and say, we don't know how old Samuel was, but he was probably just a kid. He was just pretty young. And that's such a special age. And when we think about the fact that God can speak to our hearts sometimes, even as younger people, because sometimes it's easy to get our focus on this and that as we get older, and God wants to speak to us. And that's exactly what happened to Samuel. He was willing to do something pretty hard because God told him to. He was willing to be, what's the word, Sam?
Obedient.
Obedient, absolutely. Well, I love that story, and I appreciate you sharing, Sam. Thank you so much.